quick drink right now. There's orange juice and coffee. I got into the milk with my donut over there, so if you'd like to be a little healthy and have an orange juice and other water, please do so. But we'll have a break after this presentation. But if you want to get out that bigger packet from Jenifer Jonas, that's the one that just came over. We are the first region workshop. Region 5 has the distinct honor of being the test pilots, and she just sent that out, and that has got everything in it from what is going to be a reimbursement this year and the various changes. And she's the one, and I think most of you probably are at her dad. I know the bigger schools, I know of Rock Island, you're still at her, Craig, aren't you? And Moline has the secretaries do it. But on top of my 150 kids I put through a quarter, I'm responsible for entering that data too. But she's the one you contact. It used to be by phone, but anymore it's much easier to email her. And then she can answer any questions if you had a mistake with the duplication, why this one isn't going through. I had one this year that stumped her and I. We just, everything was perfect, and they went there, and we still couldn't figure out what the glitch was. But there is talk that they're trying to make ISBE and Secretary of State come closer together. So when you enter it one time, it's going to go straight over. If you don't know the basics, if you're going to have a kid all fired up, I want to get my license on Saturday. He just finished driving on Thursday. Now, if you don't get him entered before 5:30, the whole system's got to wait a day. So 5:30 is the day that it's downloaded. So if you can't get him before 5:30, let's say he finishes on a Friday. But if you don't enter him before 5:30 on Friday, he is not going to be in the system on Saturday morning to get his license. And he'll be all heartbroken. So 5:30 is that magical cutoff with the communication between the two. But I know some of you may be new to this. There's a few little ups and downs, but it's a pretty straightforward system that works with it. And she's very helpful in putting this all together with the various issues and problems. And I know there's going to be some things on the horizon. And one of those that I know is the mental health day. Now some of you are on a quarter system. And what's 4 or 5 days off when you got a whole semester with it? I count the days. This quarter was 39 days for me. And for me to get the number of seat time, their max was 2. Then all of a sudden COVID came along, they got the trump card, and they're able to say, oh, no, okay, we can't count against that, you got to work remotely. But in the future, when we ever get to that, when we're throwing out 5 mental health days that they can take any time during the year, they are still going to have to hammer that out between ISBE and the Secretary of State. So that's one of those issues, and that goes into effect January 1st with that. So your students are able to take 5 mental health days in the future when they want for at their own calling. So, but we're getting hooked up here in just a second. So if you have would like to get a drink real quick, go ahead. Maybe we can kind of move our restroom. If you're not familiar, it's right out the door. You can use that. Help yourself to some more drink back there.
Thank you guys for your attention.
Oh, thank you.
Argyle, something State Park.
Yes, Argyle, yeah. There's Spring Lake too, is real nice park.
Yeah, here.
Yeah, campus, then check to see which one is better for the bike ride and how far. There's Spring Lake and there's Lake Argyle. Yeah, Argyle, yeah. Right, yeah, most definitely. And I was trying to think of something else. Okay. Yeah. Right, and really western kind of all one area.
It's been quite the roller coaster, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Supposedly, back in so, unless I get the point to Chicago.
That'd be a good one for
Yes.
breakdown.
Yeah.
Of course not. It'll be up here.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as it's full.
Yeah, they changed my email, they changed my phone, they changed
Gotcha.
everything out of the way.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Good luck.
Any other questions before you leave?
Yeah, Dave at RyanMillan.org. You can shoot me an email, but hopefully see a lot of you guys.
Yeah, for you guys too.
$2 or
Yeah, actually, surprised me.
You could have someone in the family
First
who
will let me back in.
Thank you.
We just use the mic there.
Which is true.
And if you've already heard about the bicycle safety elements, the distracted driver is more likely to hit something they're not accustomed to. And obviously, one of those is walkers, joggers, and the second would be someone on a bicycle, and the third would be someone on a motorcycle. In our area, the Quad Cities, we had over Labor Day weekend 3 separate motorcycle accidents where they came over the center line and wiped out on a bicycle. 2 couples and a single that died over Labor Day weekend alone. So having this element of watching out for distracted drivers, and then the reason why, because they're likely to hit that jogger or walker.
So we're gonna get audio outside my Chromebook, but I gotta go get the speaker for it. But Jenifer is here. And you wanna?
Are we going to do the mic right here?
No, you're good. I'm done. Hold on.
We can use this mic.
No, hold on.
1 second, let her get straightened out. Thank you, Jenifer. This is the face behind Springfield whenever you're trying to enter. I've met her a couple times at the state conference. You can't see us over here. I guess we go.
Even if it is a small percentage.
Okay, can you see us out there? There we go. Okay, thank you for all your help doing this today.
Millions of dollars in damage already. Yeah, it's like 15 kids.
I don't know how to get the audio to come out of there, so I probably.
Jennifer's been working remotely for almost a year and a half now.
Yeah, we came back to the office June 28th.
Okay.
So, we've been back in the office since then.
Actually, we got it. All right. We got it on a cruise in February right before everything shut down, so we were kind of lucky that.
Okay, well, new technology, here we go. This is the first step in your student getting their license, entering the data, putting them in archive, reimbursement. Jenifer's been nice enough to hook us up for the first time ever with the Zoom meeting here so we can answer any questions you've got. She's got a presentation for you and we'll discuss some of the changes that we've had and answer any of the questions you've had involving your data entry in ISBE. So, thank you again, Jenifer, for coming on board. We see Alex there getting his final adjustment there. I'm glad he's technologically advanced. I'm definitely back in the Stone Age.
Can I see my screen?
Yeah, hold on a second.
Okay.
I just exited out to try to turn volume up in the corner of it.
You know, you're fine.
Uh-oh. All right, is that better?
Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah, we can all see it.
All right. Okay, are you ready for me?
Yep, you're good.
Good, good, thank you.
All right. As I stated, I'm Jenifer Jonas. I'm the one, work at State Board of Education, so I'm the one that you call when you have any iOS questions. I put together a handout, and I know if some of you have been to state conference, this is kind of similar. I have added some new items in here that have been sent to me, questions asked that some people might need to know. And some of this may be helpful if you're a new instructor. Some of it may be repetitive, so if you already know it, I apologize. But anyway, at the end of this, I will tell you that if there's anything in here that you've got questions on that I haven't gone over, feel free to ask. Or my email is at the end of this, and you can send me an email, and I will put together like a Q&A to have as well to share on our website, so that way there's a document that you can go to at all times if you have any questions as well. I'm just kind of going to briefly go through some of the information on here, and then if you have questions, if there's time, you feel free to ask. I'm going to start off with, I have been moved to a new department within the agency, still do the same job, just moved to a different department. So my phone number has changed. So you'll find my new number there highlighted. So if you can, try to save that number. Just so that way, that'll put you directly to my department. You won't have to kind of go through several different callers to get to me. Starting with remote instruction, all classroom instruction provided for remote learning will count towards the 30-hour requirement. Back when I did this was when all 30 hours could be provided remotely, because that's when students have the option to take, to be able to do remote learning. Even right now, I know it's just if you were quarantined, I believe. I'm checking on this to see if all 30 hours, since we are wanting the in-person learning. As of right now, just consider the 30 hours can be considered remote learning until further notice. So, but I am checking on that. Okay, if your school is not providing remote learning as an option this school year and a student is quarantined, you'll have to work with the student to make sure they complete their 30 hours of instruction. Again, I suggest allowing them to participate by Zoom or Google Classroom so they don't miss out on instruction or fall behind. That's similar to what we've been doing all along with COVID. Actually, I put this in here before. They had changed that if you were quarantined, you had to provide remote learning to students. Another thing, I've had several schools ask me about the Edgenuity driver's education program, which is a virtual course. That is not an acceptable driver's education course for ISBE at this time. So I wanted to put that out there, because like I said, I've received several questions about that. Behind the wheel instruction, in-person behind the wheel instruction can continue, even if the school is providing curriculum through remote learning, unless instructed otherwise. Under no circumstances shall there only be one student and one instructor in a car. We are telling people that it's kind of up to your local school district on how they want to handle it. They want to allow 2 or 3 students in the car at this time. Kind of just follow what your your local health department, what your numbers are. I can, continue to wear the mask, wipe down the vehicle when you can. Just similar to what we have been with the with COVID. But like I said, right now I believe that a lot of school districts should be able to have 2 to 3 kids in the car. Claiming students for reimbursement. Schools may receive reimbursement for 1 fail and 2 passes per student. So if a student fails classroom or lab instruction, be sure to go ahead and submit the failing grade so that the school receives reimbursement for that. I know there were some schools that didn't realize that you did get reimbursed for a fail. In those regards, if the student retakes the instruction, you'll go ahead and pick them up off the student list to enroll them in another class and then submit their passing grade. However, the system will not allow you to enroll them in the same class they failed. So if you have a 2022 fall classroom only and they fail it and you submit their fail, if they retake it and pass again, you cannot put them in that FY 2022 fall classroom only. You'd have to create a new class, because otherwise the system won't allow you to enroll them in the same one. Students enrolled at school and taking driver education may be claimed for reimbursement up to the age of 21. If a student doesn't complete the 30 hours of classroom instruction or 6 hours of lab instruction and they are removed or dropped from the class, submit them as a dropped. The only time you will submit a student as a fail is when they actually complete the required hours but don't receive a passing grade. For students 18 and over, any student 18 years or older who takes classroom instruction will need to provide a copy of their transcript as proof of passing classroom instruction when they go to the DMV. Then they won't be allowed to take the drive test there. If students are submitted Classroom-only grades do not get submitted to the Secretary of State's office, so that's why a lot of 18-year-olds are turned away, because that grade, the classroom grade, is not submitted to Secretary of State's office. Now, that is something we've been working on to see if we can get the classroom grades to submit to the Secretary of State, so that way they would not need to provide the transcript. That's still we're still talking about that though, so as of right now, students 18 years and older will still need to take a copy of their transcript if they've not completed lab instruction. Archiving and transferring students. If you have students who no longer attend your school and you know they aren't going to take behind the wheel, you can archive those students. You just go to your student list, check the box next to the student's name, click archive at the bottom of the page, and then you'll fill in the reason you're archiving them. You can, graduating, no longer at school, whatever you want to put there. This will keep their record, but remove them from your student list, so that way you don't have to work around them. And then archived student records can always be reinstated, so if somebody's archived accidentally, we can always reinstate them. If you have recent students who no longer attend your school but have a record started in IWAS and moved to continue driver's education, you can transfer those students out and place them on the transfer list to give school to pick up. If you have any issues transferring students out, let me know, and I can always help with that as well. And I know, one thing I will suggest is I know time is an issue for a lot of you, but you may want to go through your student list every once in a while and see if there are still students in school, because I have found some student lists that have several hundred students on them, and some of them date back to when they took it in like 2002. So those students can be archived. That way you don't have to work around them on your student list. Driver education documentation. If a student completes classroom instruction at a commercial or private driving school or at another public high school, you need to keep a copy of the transcript or certificate that states the student completed classroom instruction elsewhere in their student file. And please be sure to check the box that states they completed classroom instruction at a commercial driving school, out-of-state program, or online adult course when you submit their lab grade. And you will see that box when you enroll them in lab only. That way, when that box is checked, since they didn't take classroom instruction in Q, the completion will go on file. I included a link to the driver education student record card because while we were out due to COVID, we were in the office and we weren't able to get those. So there is a card that you can actually print, and I've given you the link to that, or given you instructions on how to find that card to where you could actually print them off, make copies, if we wouldn't be in the office again or be out for some reason. Driver instructor eligibility, this is just telling you that we are doing a rewrite and some things are going to change on how you submit driver's ed instructors. Only driver's ed instructors who are certified will be on a drop-down list to choose from. So please make sure that your Pell is valid and not lapsed. Instructors with a lapsed or valid Pell would be deactivated, not be allowed to teach driver's education. Also, with the new electronic permit process in place on CyberDrive, an instructor must be approved in IWAS in order to log into CyberDrive and make sure that your superintendent has added you in this system if you're a new instructor. Also, I've been going through the instructor system, and there are a lot of instructors who I believe are now retired or probably no longer with the school or have lapsed Pells. That's something that you may want to mention to the superintendent, so those instructors can be deactivated. Okay, special education, private facilities and alternative schools. Just schools that place students in a special education, private facility or alternative school with the purpose of the student obtaining a driver's license. Must ensure that the facility has an ISBE certified instructor teaching the driver's education classroom instruction. Most of those don't have lab, but there are different ways that the student can, or that the private school or alternative school can submit information. And usually it's a private school or alternative school that reaches out to me regarding that, but I just wanted to put that in there because I've had several questions. Student errors is very important for driver's education instructors to double check the student completion information in each class for any errors. So if you do submit information, just make sure that there's not, that they don't have an error on file. If it says not on SOS file, it just means that the permit number that was entered in IWAS doesn't match what the Secretary of State has on file. And if you resubmit what you have and it still doesn't go through, you may need to reach out to the student to see if you can get a copy of the permit to double check it. Also, if you get the dupe on SOS file error, that means that I will fix that. There's nothing you can do with that. So I usually I do those every morning unless I get really busy. It may be an afternoon before I get to it. Please make sure to tell students that if they may change any information on if they change any information on their permit, like their permit application before receiving their license, let you know so that you can submit their new permit number in IWAS. A student's completion will not show up the SOS if a student's permit number changed from the original number submitted, even though the record will show as approved in IWAS. And that happens a lot. Students don't realize that adding their full middle name instead of just a middle initial or the spelling, it can change their permit number. They don't realize that, and that can hold them up. I just provided the link again to the student license inquiry on how they can look up to see if their record has been approved at the Secretary of State. The next part is driver education student coursework, like student transfers. This is just telling you how to add a transfer student or how to transfer someone out. And last but not least is the driver education appropriate reimbursement information. I was able to finish up and close out the file yesterday, so I did include the new amounts that are going to be for reimbursement this year. If you'll notice, the appropriate amount did go down. There was a decrease in the amount of 2.25 million. And I did put on there the reason why there was a decrease in the approach, and it was due to declining revenues in this fund, and a lot of that was due to the COVID pandemic. And unfortunately, the pandemic will cause an estimated decrease of $6 million in revenue, driver's ed revenue through FY21. And this reduction recommended for FY22 will be the first fiscal year of a 3-year correction period to address the payment backlog for this fund. So the next 2 years as well for FY23 and FY24, you will see a decrease in the appro. Hopefully it will stay at 3.75 million and won't go any lower than that, but I can't guarantee anything at this point. And then there's just my contact information on there. Again, the address, phone number, my email. So if you have any questions that you want to email me or anything that you need help with, feel free to contact me either by phone or by email. So again, I apologize if this was repetitive stuff that you've heard over and over, but there are a few new things we've added in there. Also, I know it was brought up the 5 mental health days that were passed. I actually have an email into our one of our departments about that as well. As of right now, it looks like it's going to be a local school district decision on how the district wants to handle a student who takes one of those days when we are with education. Again, if it's only a day or 2, those hours can more than likely be made up. So that way the student doesn't need to drop from the class. But again, I do have an email in to double check on that. So, does anybody have any questions for me?
Any entry error questions? Throw them out there.
And again, if you don't wanna ask them now, that's fine, you can always email me, and, I'm gonna put together a Q&A, for any of these, so that, and then post them on the website, so that way they're there for people to, see if anybody has any questions, so.
One question, Jen.
I have,
Okay.
like, all my driving portion in there have all been submitted and approved, but I still have a lot of classroom ones that are submitted but haven't been approved. Is there-
Okay, classroom, the only time an SOS status on iWeb is gonna show as approved is when both a passing classroom and a passing lab grade have been submitted.
That makes sense.
So if they're showing as approved, that means that they've got a passing classroom and passing lab grade submitted. If they've only completed classroom, it's only gonna show as submitted.
Okay.
And when it comes to reimbursement, whenever I send out that you wanna make sure it either says submitted or approved, you just wanna make sure, as long as it says submitted, that's fine. The main thing I want people to watch is to make sure it doesn't say like next to classroom or lab, as doesn't show as enrolled, and the students actually completed it already, and their grade just didn't get submitted to ISBE. So as long as it says submitted next to classroom, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yep.
When does the cost report come out for? Like that?
The cost report usually is done in the spring, so usually in March, the cost report comes out. But you can see down at the bottom where I did, the reimbursement, you will be able to, right there, you'll be able to see the classroom and lab numbers that were submitted for FY, payable in FY '22, and what the amounts of the classroom and the lab, reimbursement will be. And those are for students, that were submitted for the FY '21 fiscal year, payable FY '22. But the cost report's usually done in, March.
Other question? Remember, you can also reimburse for failing a student. A lot of you may not have been aware of that, but as long as they stay through the entire course and have the hours, that reimbursement is part of that same amount of money as well. So don't think you can only turn in the ones who passed, enter the ones who have failed as well. Any other questions? From the source, you're going to see her via email. Well, Jenifer, thank you again for coming in and helping us out and answering our questions. We wish you the best of luck and hope things are safe back in the Springfield now for you in office.
Yes,
May we have a
thank you.
normal 2021-22 school year, or as close to normal as we can get.
As close to normal as we can get, that's right.
All right.
So, if anybody has any questions, just feel free to reach out to me.
Okay, God bless, take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye.
Well, we got our next speaker up, but we can take a quick break, use the restroom real quick. We're going to be cuffing and booking somebody today. We'll have to find who that individual might be. I saw a couple speed traps on the way down from the Quad Cities this morning. I think I saw more state troopers this morning than I have in quite a while. This region must be a little bored down here, I thought. They know all the college kids rushing to campus on US Highway 67.
I saw it too, and I didn't understand it either.
Yeah, it was something. So you know where to go fast and where not to go fast as well there. But please go ahead and take a break for a moment as he sets up. Help yourself to more juice and milk. Restrooms right across the hall. If you haven't been up to take a look at some of Judy's stuff, please do so.
There's some freebies on mine too.
Yep.
The pens and pencils, keychains.
Yep. There. So did she finish flashing with me? Okay, yeah, then just want to email me and then I'll be able to look that one up and then I'll put it in the, which you'd say you transfer it out. Then you'll be able to grab her and then you'll be able to get reimbursement for the BTW. Yes, so I just got to know which one to go and then arc the throw her off, transfer her out, just like you. Two ways to do it. You can, if you have, and I need to do it myself as far as when I get through, I don't archive archive. Some of the kids
Well,
just
you
sit there
go
forever.
from technology.
My list now, yeah. But if you put them in archive, then they're not lost, and they haven't gone out to the general world. But once you put them in the transfer file, then it's, if you've gone to the transfer and pulled people. So it looks a little weird. You're gonna go to find them,
Has a great
and
job, doesn't
then,
he?
but it doesn't
And
show
I
them.
think he
You
thinks
gotta
they're
scroll
thin.
down, all of a sudden it appears, and they're
So
on
you
the
went
back. From there, if you can open right now.
Yeah.
Would it just be in that I
A
can?
couple of my kids have been there and they'll send me a picture with Andy. Down
And
there.
I'm in Hampton too. So